It's gonna be good, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be better, I can't wait. Making my move, live for the day, sing like a bird, fly like a plane. Come spill with me, Jenny D. Jenny D. Jenny D.
Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you for joining me with another episode of Spill With Me, Jenny D podcast. It is December. And, I just wanted to highlight so many wonderful people out there doing so many good things. But I was so excited because my guest today, Stephanie, we met at we've been meeting each other at all these networking groups, but we never really got a chance to get to know each other. And I feel like this is going to be me listening for the first time as well, as my audience will be listening to her story. And what an amazing young woman. She's so much younger than me. I'm like, I could be her. Well,
not
her
so
mom.
much. That's not true.
Her older sister. But
there you go.
Yeah, right. Stephanie, introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers, and just tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. First and foremost, I guess I used to be a Yinzer, but I'm not anymore. But I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. If you know Century 3 Mall, I was 5 minutes from there.
Oh my God.
That's what Yinzer, like where Century 3 Mall was.
Yes, I used to work at Merry-Go-Round.
Oh my gosh. I probably met you then.
I know. I was probably there when you came in to look at clothes.
But growing up, middle class family, I have 2 siblings that are older than me and my parents. Didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I had this big question mark, like, did I want to be a mom? I didn't know what I wanted to do as a profession. So I graduated high school. I was kind of forced to go to college because my parents didn't have the opportunity, and realized that I was going to be a pharmacist because I got good grades in math and science, truly.
Oh, wow.
So I planned on transferring to the University of Pittsburgh, Maine, to start my junior year, which would have been the fall of 2005.
Okay, 2005.
So throughout the summer of 2005, I started developing symptoms like crazy fatigue, and I had a rash called petechia down my legs. It looked like just red bumps, like a rash, like a razor burn almost.
Yes.
And then I had gained water weight. I had a severe allergic reaction from nothing. So my body was just going through these weird transitions and alarming changes. And I was interning at a pharmacy that summer at the Giant Eagle on Center Avenue in Shadyside. And I had some bleeding going on, and the pharmacist said, I said, I don't know what's going on, but these are my symptoms. And she said, you should probably call your PCP. And I was so tired. So Wednesday, August 24th, I was 19 at the time. It was a couple weeks before my junior year of college, my first day at Pitt, to finish my prerequisites and start pharmacy school. And I came home, and I remember calling a friend on the way home. And I said, I feel like I'm going to die. I'm so tired.
Oh my God.
Literally. And I got home, and I just threw myself on my parents' couch because I was going to commute. And they saw me, and I had bruises on my hand and my elbows, random bruises everywhere. And I was 19. Yeah, I went out, I partied, but
right.
You don't have
it's
a big bruise like here.
Or anything.
No. And so they called the PCP, whoever was on call, and said my symptoms and how I had a fever of 102.5.
Oh my God, that's like a big red flag.
So that was a big red flag. So
102.5.
when they hung up the phone, they said, we have to take you to the hospital. So off we go. It's Wednesday night. We went to what was UPMC Southside Hospital. Right. The next day, I stayed overnight. They did a ton of blood work. The next day, a doctor came in. He said, I suspect it's leukemia, but we have to do a bone marrow biopsy to confirm.
Well, when he said that.
Yeah. I
was and your parents what are you talking about?
So there were 2 kids in my high school probably within the 5 years prior to this date at the time, that had leukemia, but you didn't know anything about it. I truly thought it was a blood disorder.
Yeah.
I didn't really know it was cancer.
Right.
And I was so alarmed. And so when he said we have to do a bone marrow biopsy to confirm, I looked at my dad, who was the only one with me at the time, and I said, what's that?
Yeah, right. would you know any of this? You're studying to get into pharmacy school, and
You hear biopsies of like your breast or
Right.
different, but not bone marrow.
yeah, right. And
So
what does that mean?
so I think it was my dad that kind of gave me a look, and the doctor said we have to go into the back of your hip and take bone marrow out of your bone. Well, the marrow is in the center of your bone,
Okay.
and I just lost it.
Yeah.
So I had, by ambulance, I was transferred to Shadyside Hospital because I had a choice to go to Children's or Shadyside. I'm like, well, I'm not going to
I was
Children's.
going to say, you're 19.
I'm not a child.
Yeah, right.
So
I'm an adult.
Friday, so 2 days later, Friday, I go to Shadyside Hospital. This fellow at the time, which I'll bring him up again, he guided me. He did it. It was awful. You lay on your side. I still have never seen the size of this needle. Did the biopsy. The next day in the morning, I was in bed by myself in this room at the hospital. My parents were on their way, and in comes this doctor who happened to be an oncologist. He was so cold. He had zero bedside manners. He stood over my bed and he said, "It's acute lymphoblastic leukemia. We can't waste any time. These are going to be the side effects." And I blacked out. But the one thing I heard him say was, "It could affect your fertility." And I thought, oh, I don't even know if I want to be a mom.
I don't want this to be the reason.
And then he left. He said, "We have to start chemo on Monday."
And nobody was in the room with you.
And he left. And that fellow walked in and sat with me till my parents got there.
Oh my God.
So I hear chemo starts on Monday, and I thought, what's chemo?
Yeah.
When I have school in 2 weeks.
Right. You're like, wait a minute.
Am I going to die? These are the things that if you don't know a cancer patient or diagnosis, if you've never had cancer, it's the first thought you think of. Am I going to survive this?
Right.
And then I thought, well, how's chemo administered? Like, and how long is this going to be?
Right.
So these were all my questions. And then I had a credit card, not a lot of debt, but I had some on it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to work. Like, how am I going to take care of, like,
pay for this?
I didn't buy school books yet. I was not prepared for any of this.
I don't think anybody would be prepared at 19 years old.
I just made even for school. Like, I didn't even get anything for school. Like, I nothing. So the world just crashed in front of me. And so fortunately, my family just rallied. And we find out that Monday chemo has to start immediately. I was sick as a dog. They started me off on like tons of steroids. I blew up with a balloon. Like I gained 35 pounds in the first 3 weeks. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and I gained 35 pounds from the steroids.
Steroids, yeah. What kind of steroid was it?
Prednisone.
Yes.
I blew up, and I was eating anything in front of me. But it saved me, and so it was intensive chemotherapy. I was very sick. I lost my hair 2 weeks after I was diagnosed. My nurse at the time, she shaved my head in the bathroom, and that was probably the most traumatic time. And I just came out of the bathroom and fell into my mom's arms because that was reality check. That was reality check. It was like, this is serious stuff. And I had a ton of different doctors, and I left the hospital 3 weeks later and was told I was in remission. And I cried leaving the hospital because it was such good news that I got to leave, but the journey didn't end. And I was confused at the time when they said remission, but they still treat it, even like they would do another bone marrow biopsy to confirm that there was no more cancer cells.
Wait, this was 3 weeks later.
But they still have to treat it because there are dormant cells that might be hiding in the blood.
Oh, geez.
Which means I had to continue intensive chemotherapy. Sometimes it was a shot, sometimes it was IV drip, you name it, I had it. And so that's when I was transferred to then outpatient at Hillman Cancer Center. And then I had 2 weeks, Monday to Friday, 2 weeks in a row of brain radiation because there could have been cells that left the bone marrow and my hip went up my spine into my brain. So I also had to have spinal taps for 5 weeks straight. Every Monday I went in and they injected chemo in my spine just to kill anything that could have been living there. And then after that, you're on oral medication for 2 more years. So the good news is that my first goal was we walked the Light the Night Walk for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is now called Blood Cancer United. 3 weeks after that was the walk, and we walked it. And it was the first milestone that like I checked off the list. The second one was my sister was getting married the following August of 2006. And I said, I'm not wearing a wig. I was a maid of honor. I said, I'm not wearing a wig to her wedding. And I didn't. My hair was like an inch long. I was like this skinny, but I did it. So I think when you are going through that, you have to set these small goals that end up being big milestones. And that's when I really realized how short life is and that we have to celebrate all the moments, not just the big ones of getting married or graduating, or it's every day you have to celebrate something. And that's what I started sensing. And then I would tell my story. I just had this like shining moment when I was in the hospital. The doctors, it was in September, Katrina hit. It was that I was in the hospital watching it from the bed.
Oh my God.
And it was a beautiful day. And I asked, like, can I just get some fresh air? Like, you don't understand what it's like to be in a hospital for 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
It's awful.
I can't even imagine that. Not even coming outside.
So I had a mask on. You know, I joke around and say, like, I started the mask trend before the pandemic.
Oh, yeah, right.
I had no immune system, so I had to wear a mask. I had to wear a gown.
Because you couldn't get sick because if you got
I had
sick.
nothing. No, I couldn't even have fresh flowers in my room at the time. Like, I couldn't eat fresh fruit,
so like
fresh
friends
vegetables.
Visit or family?
They did, but they had to be, like, you had to make sure that you weren't sick. Like, check yourself at the door. But I was like coddling friends, and the one day, it was a beautiful day, my mom wheeled me out into the courtyard, and the sun was shining on my face, and I thought, I'm going to be okay. Like, it just hit me in that moment. I'm going to be okay. And I was sick as a dog. Like, during those treatments moving forward, I told you I gained 35 pounds in the first 3 weeks. I then lost over 60 pounds within 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
I was sick.
So your body was going through all these different changes, you know, I mean.
And isolation, like no one looks like you, no one can relate to you, because I was like the baby at Hillman Cancer Center at the time.
Right.
We're talking 2005 and 2006. Yeah. Young adult cancer wasn't a term. Now it's AYA, adolescents and young adults. That didn't exist then.
Did they explain about leukemia? And you know, you were saying that there were 2 kids from your school. Like you're like, you think to yourself, why me? Like, why did I get it? Like, where did this?
You always ask yourself that, and I always chalked it up to being environmental, because it wasn't. I had no sign of it in my family, like no history. They couldn't really pinpoint the why when it's leukemia, but we were near the thing that I think of is like we lived near the Bettis plant. I'm like, was that something there that maybe in the air? Truly, you never know. But I always just said it's probably something environmental. Right. And I've learned that our bodies all carry these mutations, and when the stars align, that's when cancer happens. Unless it's hereditary, right? Unless you smoke, like that's higher risk is higher. Right. But I didn't have any of that. You know, I was an athlete growing up my whole life. I was as healthy healthy can be, aside from, you know, your social life. But yeah, you have to move on from that at some point. You ask yourself, of course, but then you can't live with the why was that? Why me? Why not me? Right. And you're thinking because I talk to so many people that have gone through cancer, and they say you got to have that attitude. If you have that attitude of like, you know, you're depressed, you're this, you're that. If you don't get up every day and be like, you know what, come on, we can do this. I can do this. And now I see that in people, and I'm like, but they sit and they wallow and they're depressed. And then I see others and they say, I control the cancer. I'm going to live my life. Yes. And you can tell a difference in their day to day, year after year. The prognosis, it's different. I can't say it cures you, right? But there's a difference there. Attitude. And I always said half of it is medicine and how you get treated, and half of it is your attitude and your outlook. Medicine and your mental state. And that can be with any diagnosis. Right. So you go to you're at your sister's wedding, and I just was sharing my story with anyone that would listen, because I was this like young kid that had a lot of energy and a great outlook. And I had my dark days, but what really hit me that was a changed moment was when I went back to school a year later. And I had to find myself. I was not a pharmacist. I was failing school. Chemo brain is real. Yeah. Fatigue was still there. I still had side effects. I had neuropathy, numbing in my hands and my toes. And Pitt, you're walking a ton. Right. I struggled. And that winter I had a fever. I went into the hospital for a week, and I just did some soul searching. And there was a social worker that helped me. This is a whole story for another day, but my dad got injured on his job almost a year before I got sick. Oh, so we were on his workers' comp insurance for 2 more months after my diagnosis. After that, we didn't have insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So my mom had to get a job to get insurance for them. A social worker helped me in the hospital get my own insurance. So it was crisis moment. So anyways,
Yes.
fast forward, I thought, oh, maybe I could be a social worker because I knew I wanted to give back.
Yes.
And that's when the journey seriously started. And in 2008, I enrolled in School of Social Work at Pitt. So I ended up getting a bachelor's and master's degree, but I had almost a self-identity, like a crisis moment.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, now that I'm going to be a professional, do I wear my survivor hat? Do I wear my social work hat? Like, do I share my personal story? And I was
Ooh,
told
that's a good point,
I was
Stephanie.
told in the beginning, you do not disclose any personal information when you are a social worker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I thought, okay,
Because you're there to kind of like listen to their stories
it's
and
not
help
about
them through.
you.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can't be that vulnerable.
But you can, when they're depressed or they're thinking, woe is me, you can say to them, you know, on the other spectrum, like, listen, I survived leukemia.
And I did. And that was the changing moment. I was talking to an elderly man one day, and this was in 2011 now. I was a full-time employee at a small charity here that since merged with another. And he said, I have to get a bone marrow biopsy. Like I'm terrified. And I said, here's what helped me through it. And he said, you had one? And I said, oh, I had many. And I was like, I don't care. I'm sharing my story. And it connected us like you wouldn't believe.
Oh.
So from then on, I knew I never wanted to be a therapist. Like I had all this energy and I would share my story when appropriate. Right. And I'd say, this is how I dealt with it, but let's talk about your situation. So in 2012, I had an opportunity to start a project of my own. And I was like, aha, I'm going to build a young adult cancer community. I'm going to find them. I'm going to support them, and we're going to do this. I'm going to build a community because there were no resources, in our region, barely any in the United States. There were maybe two that I knew of, and one was like in the arts and crafts, like, and I was not that. I was, sports, and if you weren't into arts, you weren't into this nonprofit for young adults, and I wasn't. So I thought, oh, I'm going to start this. So I started facilitating support groups at the Panera on Center Avenue in the back room, little private room. Slowly but surely, they were coming. It took 2 years until we could not fit another chair in this room.
How did you get the word out there so that people were?
Through my job, through the social workers at the cancer centers, social media, which was primarily just Facebook at the time.
Right. I keep thinking you're right.
I was loud. I would speak at different conferences, whether it be American Cancer Society, at the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute Gala. We're talking like 500 people, and they're oncologists. You name it. I had this Fighting Spirit Award that I won at the Hoops for Hope Gala. It was American Cancer. So anywhere I went, and I think the more I spoke and the energy I brought, and the light that I shined on something that was so dark and so serious, I think gave a lot of hope to people. And I'm not saying that to like toot my own horn, but I think it did. And that's what I would hear. You have a story. You need to share more of it.
I mean, here's the whole premise of why I started my podcast.
Exactly.
Is if we don't share our story, we don't know who we're touching out there. We don't know who needs to listen to this story.
So when I
say, I'm sure there were tons of people like, listening to you that maybe knew somebody that was going through the same thing.
And this is a community that talks. So anytime they would recognize another young adult, they'd say, hey, have you heard about this group? And then they would come. Yeah. So I think word of mouth, through my story, through social media, through the cancer centers, and any opportunity really, through professional anything, event, conference, you name it, slowly but surely word was just getting out. And then they would call the charity, or they would even call the American Cancer Society, and then they knew about us at the time. So just raising awareness, putting it in the newspaper, an article about but still the word young adult to everybody meant kids.
Oh, right.
And there's nothing against that except for this is an often overlooked population. You're talking about people
like over 18.
We say 18 to 45 today, but you're talking about people in their 20s, 30s, early 40s. What are you doing in those 2 decades?
Right. Yeah, that's true. You're
graduating college,
getting married,
first homeowner, raising a family.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's taken away. You don't have financial security yet. You're finding yourself, right? We're still growing into our own independence. Then that happens and it just sets you back. So we're sitting in treatment chairs watching our peers land a new job and travel the world and, build their income and network and really become their own independent self. And we're not. And so it takes all that to like get healthy again, figure out who you are, catch up with the world. Like when I started getting back into like my social life, as are all of these others that I was listening to in these support groups, you're still sick. Like after treatment, you are mentally still so challenged with what just happened.
Right.
Who am I? And what does the rest of my life look like? And I was going out at the bars, like I was the DD, like I was the driver, and I was sick. I couldn't even put heels on my feet because I still had neuropathy. You just can't keep up, but you're trying, and it's hard. So as I kept hearing these conversations, I thought, they need to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started independently fundraising, and I would take them kayaking on the rivers or take them bowling, or
I was
have
going to say,
game
what did
nights.
you do in these groups?
We
Like,
started our first potluck Thanksgiving dinner in 2014. My next one is this Saturday with my group.
So you have been doing this for how many years?
So I built the community between 2012 and 2019, and by then I thought my passion is there, and there's so much more work to be done. Yeah. So I took the bull by the horns and I formed Young Adult Survivors United. I got our EIN number and created the name and the mission, and which was what it was, offering emotional, social, and financial support that has grown beyond that now. But March 1st of 2020, I announced to the world, meaning social media, that this was born. We're going to do this. We're going to grow it. And then 2 weeks later, the world shut us down. And I thought, oh, here we go.
I know. You're like, what are you doing? Like, are you sending me these signs of like, what am I supposed to be doing?
But when you really want something, and I hope anyone listening will listen to this, don't give up. It's there. You're going to have to fight challenges and battles. You're going to lose friendships. You're going to definitely have obstacles that you don't even foresee at the moment. I can't tell you how many obstacles I've had over the past 5 years, but I cannot tell you we've built this community. We've expanded the mission. We've grown, a community of supporters and funders, and we've really moved the needle. So now when you hear young adult, it is not a kid. It is these adults who have kids, young kids, who need the financial support, who need the therapy. I'm such a mental health advocate now. A lot of them look like us. They don't look sick.
Right.
And that's, why we recognize the importance of when treatment ends, a new journey is just beginning. If you want my honest opinion, I hate that bell that people ring at the end. I get it. It's a celebratory moment. In that moment, they need a private space to do that because there's someone with metastatic disease that will never be able to get to ring that bell.
Oh my God. And they're probably in a room listening to
hearing it.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that.
And then when they get into their car and leave, they're in tears. Because you're reflecting. And then again, what do I do now? You have this team, and with your blinders on in treatment, you see these nurses almost every day. They're your new family.
Your family, right?
And then they say, okay, you're done.
And you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to go, because what if it comes back, or how do I know the symptoms again?
Yeah, all a wave of that hits, tidal wave. So we often see people at that moment, and they're like, I'm isolated. I don't even know what to do now. And we bring them in, and we support them, and we give them chances to live, and we give them opportunities to come to things like a potluck dinner or a pirate game with others who they never met before. Yeah. Or just a place to hop on the screen now, because I built a virtual platform. You can identify with people who can say, I've been there and I've done that, and this is how I got through it.
Right. And and it's every type of cancer. Like it's not like leukemia.
It's the age range
coming from.
Yes.
And are they all from Pittsburgh?
No.
Our
in-person platform, which provides in-person support groups, which I just had one earlier this week in our office in Wexford. In-person socials like this potluck, or we're going to go bowling in February. We go on a FIBS. We have a FIBS conservatory. We take 20 people there in May. They go on tours there. Different things, walk and talks around the city, like just to get movement. Or if they're in a wheelchair, I push them, so we accommodate everybody. But virtually, it is extended to people in the United States, especially during the pandemic. I would lead support groups 2 a week, and I'd have 30 people on the
Oh,
screen
no.
because there was nothing to do. And they'd see us on social media and they'd say, I don't even have a place to go. Can I join your group virtually?
Right.
I have a girl in the Bay Area who always says, like, when can I start a YesU in our city?
Yes.
So we now have the best of both worlds. And the trend that I have recognized and seen, which is so interesting, before COVID, it was only in person. I could see people walk across the room and give someone a hug, and celebrate the moments in person in one room. But then when COVID happened, you didn't have a choice. So everyone only wanted virtual platforms and programs. Then it was, I hate the screen. I just want in-person connection. So we did that. And now we're seeing, as Pittsburgh is, as you know, no matter where you have a program, someone is not coming because they have to cross a bridge, go through a tunnel, fight traffic, or they're not feeling well, or they have a kid activity at night or on the weekend. So there's always reasons why there's a barrier, why they can't come. So there is a blessing and a curse to having both, so we meet both needs. So, for example, we have a virtual platform that offers socials. We're talking bingo nights and paint nights where we ship the supplies home and it's a guided paint night.
Oh, that's so fun.
We have macrame making workshops and we had a felt succulent making workshop.
That's pretty cool.
Next month,
how are you finding all these different things?
I don't have the creative brain. I can't even take credit. We have a facilitator who had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then she has become a trained advocate. And she works with my coworker, and they come up with these brilliant ideas. Next month, they're going to do a Lego building workshop, but it's not toys. Yeah. It's a Lego. It's a bamboo plant out of Legos. And then you could put like lights on it. I said, I want one.
Yes.
So like,
can somebody make it for me?
And they're filling up so fast. Trivia nights, and these are things that like they're looking forward to doing, building, crafting, and also getting the support that they need. Yeah. So we found this like niche, and it's working. We're providing the financial assistance where we literally. I was reading the testimonials from the financial assistance this year, and one woman, she literally said like, you helped keep my water on. We're paying directly to the utility bill companies, rent, mortgage payments, utility bills, or if they just need to get help making ends meet, we ship, we email them electronic grocery and gas gift cards.
See, nobody sees that. Nobody knows that is happening in our world today. I mean, that's just, some of the people from your organization. Yeah. There's probably so many other people out there that are struggling with that.
It's poverty.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
They can't get to treatment sometimes because they can't put gas in their tank or food on the table because of all the medical bills or the copays. They're inundated with expenses. It's disgusting. But that's why we're here. My good friend Raylene, she passed away from breast cancer. She fought for 10 months. She was 32 in 2021. And she died. And out of that became a Ray of Hope program, we call it. Oh, okay. So she's giving hope to our members. It's basically a Make-A-Wish, but for young adults. And so all of our members can get a trip of their choice. They get $1,000 budget. My coworker, we call her a travel agent now. Yeah. And honestly, we've sent so many people to like Bedford Springs, indoor water parks with their kids. Sometimes they just have a trip planned and we can put some costs, some of the budget towards that to enhance the trip. Sometimes we sent someone to Hocking Hills to a cabin. She just wanted a cabin on her own, go hiking and just have peace of mind. Wow. You name it, we've done it. And I welcome anyone to go on our website. But again, we're giving them opportunities to enhance their quality of life. At the end of the day, that's exactly what we want to do for this organization. So when I start by saying, this is the good that comes out of cancer, there is good that can't come out. You have to find it and you have to want it. I know
you're going to have to want it.
I know not every cancer survivor wants to live how I'm living. Sometimes you want to just put it in the past and that's okay.
Right.
The goal sometimes for us is that they don't need us anymore. But I hosted a women's wellness retreat on Saturday, just over the weekend.
Oh my gosh, you've done a lot just in this week.
It was a 7-day work week last week. Yeah. That's what you do sometimes.
Right.
And I was in the room and I said, whose first event is this under Young Adult Survivors? And there were a couple people that raised their hand and I said, Christine, how long have I known you? And she said, for 11 years now. She's still coming to programs. So this is the reward that I get to see. You know, people come and go in your life, but this is a family that
Is
we've
it
built.
mostly women, would you say, Steph? Or is there like.
Honestly, that's a great question. For years, it was predominantly just women. And I just had a conversation with my coworker. His name's Derek yesterday. And interestingly enough, when I had a support group even this week, more men were there than women.
Oh, wow.
There's a guy also in our group. He's a 3-time Hodgkin's lymphoma survivor. He's become such an ambassador. There's a retreat that we do every year at the YMCA Camp Conakry Spencer location. It's in Zelienople for 100 young adult cancer patients, survivors, and caregivers. And this guy came. He said it changed his whole entire life. So he lives in Erie, and he's leading an in-person chapter for us up there right now.
Oh, wow.
So these guys are now popping out of nowhere, and I'm so glad to see it because guys need the support too,
Right.
and that camaraderie.
Right.
And as we know, like typical society says, like guys are tough, they don't show their emotion.
you can't
We were just
cry.
talking about it before we
Yes.
started today. It's like their egos and they can't
Yes.
cry. Yeah, we're seeing a shift there.
Thank
So
goodness.
one of our goals is to form a men's wellness retreat now. I can't plan it because I don't know what they want, but I will assist with it, and I will be the person to make sure that it happens. So it's changing, you know, and the more we talk about mental health, I cannot stand when someone says, oh, I won't go to therapy. Like, it's just not for me. Everybody needs it.
Everybody needs it. Yes.
And
we're all have something that has shaped us, or something has happened to us in our past.
Life changes all the time.
And sometimes you think you're just gonna, I don't want to talk about it, sweep it under the rug. Like, this is not something that, I want to bring up. But I found out the more you talk about something, the more that you because when I meet other people and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the same story, or wow, I went through the same thing, or you find out like, whoa, I'm not alone. And that was my whole premise: is I don't want anybody to think they're alone.
Never.
And especially,
no matter what it is.
Yeah. And I am just so blessed that you're here today to talk about this and to tell everybody that this, what you have done is you've changed so many lives. It's like, oh my gosh.
I just identified a gap. I'm as humble as they can be. I was the chosen one, I guess, or like I identified this gap, and I've been on a mission for 20 years personally and professionally since 2012,
Yes.
And I feel like some days we're just starting.
It's like 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because time goes so fast sometimes that you're like, oh my gosh, I started this 2012 and now it's like 2025.
And like we were saying before, how you recently just shared your personal story. I was given an opportunity to do the same at a women's network and to share my personal story. And I was like, I never did that. I joke around all the time saying I'm going to write a book. And everyone's like, you should. And then I thought, when I was told, I was asked to share my story, not about cancer, but cancer is half my life. But things have happened behind the scenes that no one really knows. And I was as vulnerable can get. My dad's a 2-time recovering alcoholic. I went through divorce, right after the pandemic, as I was just starting this organization. And then I was at our house. He moved out, and then we had a huge house renovation, first floor, kitchen demo. Everything was getting wiped out. My organization wasn't even a year old, and I was doing this all on my own. Therapy saved my life.
Because you think, what you would think, that hearing that, like if somebody told me that, I'd be like, oh my gosh, how did they pick themselves up from that?
There were days I almost didn't.
Yeah.
But I didn't share that on social media. I didn't publicly speak about it.
Right.
It was a private matter that I just chose to keep to myself, but you can't keep it in here.
Yeah.
I stayed home on Christmas Eve that year in 2021. I was on my couch more than ever. I shut down from the world because I had an organization that I had to build, and I was all on my own.
And when you shut down like that, it's not helping you. I mean, I not that my story is similar, but I do remember I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to.
Me either.
I was
and there are people out there that are going to say that and agree and do that in that moment. Okay, but you can't live like that. You cannot stay there.
And you don't know. Like, I always say this to someone. If you're at a store or somebody's being rude or whatever, you don't know what they're going through.
Mm-mm.
You don't know what's going on in their lives. So you got to give a little grace to people, and you got to say to them like, hey, if you don't want to talk right now, if you don't want to talk about it right now, but I am here.
Yeah.
I'm here to listen.
Yeah.
I've learned to be such a great listener. I don't think I was listening my whole life. I think I was just going through the, like a robot, like going through your life like that. But when things happen in your life that kind of says, whoa, it slaps you in the face, you're like, wait a minute. What's going on here?
Even in my job, I tell people, like, we meet them where they are, and they've lived a life already. So I don't know their childhood upbringing yet. I don't know the relationships before now. Some of them don't even have parents. They're estranged from the entire family. You meet people where they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, and how do you feel about this too? Is I don't feel like anybody should go through anything alone.
No. We all have our unique stories, don't get me wrong. But when you try to do something alone, even a cancer diagnosis, for example, you can't. It's going to be much, 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 much more harder. And you shouldn't have to do anything alone. That's the kicker.
That is and I can't even imagine, like, when you got that diagnosis at 19 years old. It's not like you could talk to, like, nobody knew what you were going through. You couldn't talk to your parents. You couldn't talk to your friends, because you felt like, oh my God, is there anybody else out there that's my age group that's in, like, got this?
I just had a moment because one of the girls in my school that was diagnosed earlier, years before me, her mom called me when I was in the hospital, and she said, I know you're overwhelmed, and I'm not going to call every day and check on you, but just know we're here because we know how bombarding it can feel, how overwhelming it can feel, and how lost you can feel. So when you need a moment, take your moment, but know as a family, like, we've been there, done that. So, like, our family's here if you need anything. Just to hear that, I was like, oh, she gets it. Yeah, she understands.
Yeah. I think that, it's true. Like, when you see something, I'm always like, oh, I don't want to bother them. They're going through a lot. Like, somebody passed away in their family, or this happened, and I'm always like, I'm not. I've realized, doing this show, that I'm like, no. You reach out, because they can always not answer, or they can always not. They can say, you know what, I'm good right now.
Yeah.
But at least reach out, because they don't know that, like, oh, I was thinking about calling you, but I didn't want to bother. I've done that so many times. Or I would bring a meal over to someone if they went through something. I would always bring a meal, because that was my Italian way. Like, you bring food, you mangia,
Exactly.
And I'm sure, during your diagnosis was like, okay, I don't need this food, but comfort. Like, people want to bring you that comfort, and they just don't know how and the words to say to someone.
But that is also a good point right there, because we've learned over the years, when you don't know what to say that. Instead of saying nothing, say, I'm here, and I don't have a clue what to say right now, but I want to be here for you. But I just needed you to know that. Even though I don't know what to say or do, if you have an idea or a suggestion, like, just know that I'm here. But I don't know what to say, but I want to support you. Versus saying nothing, people just ghost you.
Right. Or
when the times are tough,
fine, or you're going to be fine. That's the other thing.
You're strong. You got this. It's like, well, I don't have a choice to not be strong.
Right.
But I know people mean well. It's just, to hear something versus nothing makes all the difference.
I sometimes you kind of really find out who your friends are, who you're true, and you've developed this new friendship of men and women, young adults, who have had such a horrific diagnosis of cancer, and you bring them together. Stephanie, that is amazing.
They're family.
Yeah, they're your family.
We call them.
It's almost like it's your family. Like, your college experience was taken away. And so now I feel like this is like your fraternity, sorority kind of like friends, and
I love
all these fun things
them
together.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed by you.
I appreciate it.
And I don't think and I know this because a lot of people, you don't give yourself enough credit.
I definitely don't.
No, I know.
Imposter syndrome?
I can already tell. Yes.
I'm the queen of it.
I get that too. Because you do. You don't feel like you're doing enough. But,
no.
Me seeing from the outside and learning about your story for the first time too. Like, I read some stuff and saw some things, but hearing it from you and your point of view, it just really, like, it just amazes me that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I would have never met someone like you that's gone through something like that at such a young age, and that came out of it like, you know what, this is what we're gonna do, because I don't want anybody else to suffer like I did.
And I won't stop.
I feel like I'm gonna cry because
me too. I'm like fighting it.
I know.
Here's the
we're
thing,
not gonna cry.
It's just, it's hard for me to hear that because it's just it was meant to be. Like I can't see life any other way. And like it has been so anyone who wants to start a nonprofit, talk to me first. Because I used to be told like don't do it. And I'd get offended by that, but it is so hard sometimes. You depend on others
Donors
and all of it. You're so dependent on others to succeed. But the biggest message that I want to bring today is you have to find your own happiness. And if you don't,
I like that.
you are not living. And what I found when I was about to file for divorce, I took my first solo trip. My ex was going on a trip to out west. He was a huge, avid athlete. I mean, ultra. And I thought, well, I'm going to go somewhere too then. Because I would be a spectator and this time I couldn't. So I thought, I'm going to go down to the beach. So I went to Clearwater Beach by myself and I was terrified. And I remember arriving and I couldn't check into the hotel and I sat at a table to get lunch and I was like, everybody's looking at me. This is awkward. I'm by myself. And the waitress came over and with the biggest smile, I was like, I'm here by myself. You know, I'm treating myself.
I know, like there's nobody coming.
And she surprised me with like this cute fruit tray and like I still have selfies, like pictures of it. But you learn so much about yourself. I don't know if you've ever gone on a solo trip or done anything by yourself. You have to do it at least like once in your life. Yes. Because I now am like addicted to going on solo trips. Like my family, and I'm sure others would say, yes. Aren't you lonely? Like, aren't you scared, lonely, depressed? Yeah. No. Oh no. I drove myself to Gatlinburg and I was in a cabin for a weekend and I hiked on the Smoky Mountains. Like, you find so much about yourself and there's so much peace in that. You set your own schedule. You're not talking to anyone unless you want to. I don't.
That is such great advice. You're right. I have never gone away by myself.
That's your homework.
That is my homework.
That's your homework.
I am so glad you said
that. And everyone watching this, that's your homework because it's life-changing. And that truly changed the game for me. Yes. And even leading an organization like this, and I have such a busy schedule. And it's just me. I don't have kids. I don't have pets. And I no longer have a husband. It's just me. And yet these are my kids. This is my family. And I'm always on. And as you know, we lead busy lives. You work day to day. Then you have something at night. I worked 7 days last week. But taking time out and going on a trip. Even one weekend I drove to Moraine State Park and just sat by a lake. Yeah. It's so freeing. And I think that's how I got myself to 40 years old. Yes. And as happy as I am today. Right. You know, I'm the outlier in my family. I don't have kids. Like I said, it's just me. Yeah, and I'm the only one in the North Hills. Yeah. You know, my sister's in Uniontown. My brother's in North Huntington. My parents are in West Mifflin. And I'm like the outlier. Yeah. And now they're like, that's okay. You have to live your life. It doesn't happen right away. People don't see that right away.
And you don't have to live the life that everybody thinks you're supposed to live. You know, like, oh, I was telling you off air about my Italian family. Like, okay, you know, you get married, you have kids, you stay at home. What about your career? No. You let, the guy makes more money. You know, it was such a different time.
Yes.
And now I have a 25-year-old daughter, and she's performing on a cruise ship.
Oh my gosh.
Living her life, and I am just so excited for her. And she doesn't realize she's in the moment of it right now. Like sometimes she does get like lonely. Sure. She's like misses her family. But I'm like, girl, she has her own, own little cabin in there, and she is. I told her, I said, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have realized in my 20s, like, take those trips.
I wish I could have.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was 21, and I was like, I have to get back to school. Catch up with the world. Yeah. And then we would travel so much, and we would be in these other countries, and you would meet people like that. Whether it was a waitress, she was like, I'm only here for 6 months, and then I'm going to move again.
We had cousins from Australia, like they would just come and visit us,
that.
And they would go to different states and stuff, and they were like touring like the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, and they were in their 30s.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
I was like, wow, and it's so terrible because I feel like me growing up, and I'm sorry to even talk about myself, but I felt like I couldn't even go to the mall by myself.
Right.
Like, oh, can somebody go with me? I don't want to go by myself.
Right.
Here I am, and I'm talking to 70s. She's like, I went here and here. Why? This just recently happened. I was up in Deep Creek, and I remember everybody left, and I was staying there because my friends were coming up the next night, and I was all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I eat? And I did feel like, it was only 24 hours. But
I went through it, yeah.
I did feel like I was watching, TV, and I was eating in bed, and I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll go for a walk. It was a little
Mhm.
freeing, but the more you say it about it, Stephanie, I'm like, wow, taking a couple of days, taking a weekend, everybody needs to recharge
You don't have to
themselves.
fly anywhere. Yeah, like I
Right.
don't go anywhere internationally by myself, at least not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Oh yeah, next time I talk to her, she'll be camping somewhere. I'll be like, girl,
But
this was such a wonderful podcast because not that it's wonderful that you got cancer, but what I loved about this is that there's so many people out there that are listening. Not so many. There are people
Yes, there
out
are.
there. Yeah, there. I know.
Because it's you. It's you.
This is nationwide, baby. But I mean, there are people out there, and to know that like make sure. How would they get a hold of you? Like if they wanted to go, like join these groups virtually or in person.
If
how
you
would
just
they do it?
Google Young Adult Survivors United, you'll find us.
You have a website?
Yeah.
Okay.
yasurvivors.org. But literally, if you just Google Young Adult Survivors United, or on Instagram, we're pretty prevalent. It's YA Survivors with the letter U. But if you just look up the name, you'll find us easily.
And I'll have that all below. But if there's anything else you'd like to share,
I just can't thank you, because any opportunity to not only share my personal story, but for anyone struggling in life, there's hope. You just have to want it and lean on others, whether it's a friend, a family, a therapist, or someone else that you can confide in. You're going to get there. And it breaks my heart if someone really has a dream or a goal, but something's holding them back, and that thing that holds them back prevents them from achieving it, or at least trying it.
I agree.
Try and fail versus
Yes.
not trying at all.
Right. I mean, you have to. I thought I would, do one episode, nobody would listen, and I wouldn't do anymore.
Now look at you.
And now I'm realizing that having this platform for men and women to share their stories, and there's so many incredible people. I mean, I am nationwide, but my Pittsburgh people, I just love them because they're doing such good things, and I appreciate.
And you're changing the world by giving us the microphone to tell the stories.
I'm like, no, I'm not. You're changing the world. Like, now, see, now we're going to be. You are. But no, thank you
so much.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
And
really
thanks for anyone listening. And if you know a young adult or a young adult with cancer, we say diagnosis and beyond. So I'll say survivor from day one.
Yes.
Or a caregiver of one. Because we can't forget the caregivers. That's a whole other episode.
Yes.
But please reach out. I'll even give people my cell, because we know people aren't going to pick up the phone and call. Text me. I don't care. If you need to reach me, I'll give you the personal information too to share.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This is
Pleasure.
another episode of Spill with Me, Jenny D. Take care.
Come spill with me.